Now that our laser's in position and we can duck underneath it, let's take a look at why it's still hitting our player and see what we can do to fix it. I'm going to grab my game view, drag it down below, and then take a look at my scene view. I'll select my player character and take a close look at him. So here you can see I've got my character with this collider and it's hitting me kind of right on the face. If I duck down, now you can see my character with that same exact collider and it's hitting right at the top of my head. So I'd like to change this. I'd like to shrink down my collider so that it doesn't hit my player when I'm ducking. Now, if I look at my capsule collider, you can see that I've got it set to a size of 2 here. If I drop this down to about a 1, you can see that now I fit underneath it, but that offset is way off. So let's set the offset to a 0.5, or I guess it's a negative 0.5. And now I can see that it would go under or go right through me, but I don't know if that looks right with the duck. So I'm going to duck and say that is probably a little bit too small. If we look at the collider again, you can see it's this green capsule right here. I think it should be a little bit bigger. So a 1 is too small. I'm going to change this to a 1.2. And then I'm going to stop playing, get my default values back, and let's just add a second collider. I think what I'd like to do is get my second collider in because I want to make sure that the bottom of it aligns perfectly with this one. So we're going to take our capsule collider now, and we're going to hit copy component. Then I'll right click again and hit paste component as new. That'll give me another capsule collider down below that I'll drag up here to be side by side with my full size collider. Now I'm going to change the size of this one. I'm going to shrink it down to a let's go to like a 1.2. That might be good. And then grab the Y and drag it down until it lines up. Figure out what that value is. What is it, about a negative 0.4? There we go. And then let's see how that collider lines up and looks. I'm going to first turn off the other collider. Just uncheck it for a moment. Press play, and then I'm going to look, duck, see what my character looks like, see how that lines up, and make sure that the laser also goes over the head. That looks about right. So it does kind of go right through the antenna, but that's kind of the feeling that I was looking for, that the antenna wouldn't necessarily count as a hit. Yeah, I think that that's pretty close. I could, of course, increase it a little bit more, but I want to give my player a little bit of wiggle room. So I think that that is a pretty good value. Now that I've got my 2 colliders here, I need to actually make sure that they switch back and forth, or so that we can actually have the tall collider on when we're tall and the short collider on when we're short. To do that, we're going to just open up our player script. And we already have code where we check to see if we're ducking, and if we are ducking, we're going to just enable one collider, and if we're not ducking, we'll enable the other collider. So first things first, let's cache the isDucking variable into a bool. I'm going to cut it, add a new line, and say var isDucking equals, and then paste our animator.getBool. I'll copy that isDucking and say if isDucking, desired horizontal is 0, and then we're going to say underscore duck collider dot enabled is equal to isDucking. I put 2 equals, 1 equal. And then we want an underscore standing collider. Actually, let's name this ducking collider and standing collider. And we'll call it, say, dot enabled not equals isDucking. Equals not isDucking. I put my words all backwards. So the exclamation mark will make it be the inverse or the opposite of what isDucking is. Now we're going to need these 2 colliders to exist, the standing and the ducking collider. I'll hit Alt Enter, generate a field for both of them. Click on the first one, generate a field. Click on the second one, generate a field. Hit F12, and they're both going to be the wrong type, but it's easy enough. I can just Alt, click, and drag and change these to collider 2D. We'll change private to serialized field. So I hit home. I'm still in block edit mode. So I've got both of the lines selected. I'm going to hold Control and Shift and hit the right arrow and then put square braces, serialized field, and closing brace space. There we go. I've got my 2 colliders. I want to move these up though over by my other serialized field. So I'll cut and paste them right up here, save, and do a build. Now I did get an error here. Oh, I got an error because I didn't put the D on enabled. I put enable instead of enabled. Fix that error and go back into Unity. This is again why I like to do builds all the time instead of save. Do Control Shift B. If I have a typo or something, I'm going to get a notification, a warning right away. Now my player should have a ducking collider and a standing collider. The standing collider is the tall one. The ducking collider is the short one. Now that those are assigned, I'm going to go to overrides, apply all of my prefab overrides, press play, and see if my character can duck underneath this laser beam properly. I'll run over here, turn the laser on. Oh, I'm getting hit in the face and duck. Look at that. I can duck under it. Now I can set up whatever I want on the other side for my laser beam to hit. And also I can now duck underneath enemy shots, which I think is probably the much more important thing and the thing that you're going to be doing even more often. But a laser beam is just as important to duck under. Well, maybe not just as important, but still important. All right, let's stop playing, go into Plastic. Let's save our sandbox scene that has our new player updated. And say that our player can duck under things with the proper collider now. And check interchange.